minutes now, yes, sorry.
So we do have a new deputy clerk, there, Brittany Kiplin. So I just wanted to introduce the board to her.
And her name is?
Brittany Kiplin. So if you want to stop by after the meeting and say hello.
Thank you. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
President Leathers.
I'm here.
Trustee McNabb. Is not here. Trustee Stillman.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Here.
And Trustee Lambert is absent.
Holly is on the way. She had to take her patrol car home first. I don't know why. I thought it would find out here. Okay. I have a motion to approve the minutes from committee of, I'm sorry, reading the wrong agenda.
There you go. Good morning.
Approval of the minutes from the village board, August 12th. Can I have a
Move
motion?
to approve.
Thank you, Fran.
Second it.
I have a question or comment.
Yes, ma'am.
In the last meeting, I had asked a question about an item on the billing, and it doesn't reflect that discussion in the minutes.
I don't recall that. Would you add?
So in general, I don't put discussion in the minutes. The minutes are for recording action, so motion, second, and then the vote. That is reflected in the recording. But if you guys would like to make an amendment to that motion to approve the minutes.
And I think that raises a question of why our minutes do not reflect more of conversation. I disagree with that completely.
Are you making a motion to amend?
Yes, I'll make a motion to amend to properly reflect the discussion that takes place.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we
I
have a
didn't
still,
hear any for opposed.
I'm opposed, but that's all right. Approval, so we have Fran and Dale on the actual approval of the minutes as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved with the amendment. Public comment. At this time, the village board will open the floor to citizens to voice their opinions to the village board. Village board cannot respond as this may conflict with open meeting requirements. Please, if you'd like to speak to us, do we have anybody on the list? If you'd like to speak to us, name and address at the microphone up here, please. I see Chris Atkinson is the only one who signed in. Chris, come on up. How you doing, bud? All right.
You guys start a timer, or should I?
Name and address first, please.
Christopher Atkinson, 6205 Highway 31, Caledonia.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I've been a resident of Caledonia for about 10 years now, and I've had enough time to get to know the culture and the people and the feel of the community, and I do not know any of you personally, nor have I spoken in one of these meetings. I'm not aware of your political affiliations or beliefs or your values, or if you chose to be an elected official so you can advance some sort of agenda. I likely voted to support some of you. I likely voted against some of you. But I want you to know that as an elected official, it's your job to represent the people of this community. It's your job to take what we say and to know your people and not represent any sort of outside entities or businesses, anonymous businesses or developers and what they're going to be trying to be proposing soon. And that your actions and your decisions have an impact on us, our families, our quality of life, our taxes, our free discretionary spending. And it will have an impact on the decisions or on the quality of life of our children and all of our future generations. So I would ask you guys to be prayerfully considerate of the decisions that you're going to be making in regards to this upcoming data center project and whose agenda you are trying to advance and how it will impact us. I feel like many elected officials, just because they're presented with an idea or some piece of paper that says they're supposed to advance something, that they rubber stamp it or green light it just because they feel like they have to take an action because they sit on a board or they're a part of a committee. That is not your job. It's to represent your people, and you'll be placing burdens on your people with the decisions that you make with this upcoming thing. And I think it's very important that you do not, when it comes to time, I know that the last meeting was canceled for some reason and scheduled to today, but the public awareness for this is going to be much stronger at that next meeting, and I think you'll hear a little bit more feedback from the people that you know also, if you're part of this community, that we do not want this. And all right.
Timing yourself.
Yep. I'll do that. Thanks, guys.
Anybody else? Come on up. evening.
Geraldine Barkdale, 5147 Pine Tree Circle. And I just want to say that I agree with everything he just said, and I second what he said. So that's it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was late, so I didn't have.
Short and succinct. Thank you.
That's it.
Good evening.
Good evening, Janet Brown, lifetime resident of Caledonia. My family are residents of Caledonia.
And what's your address, please?
Oh, Caddy Lane. You want the whole thing?
Yes. please.
10112 Caddy Lane.
Thank you very much.
Sure. 100% oppose this. Cannot see how it could possibly benefit this community in any way, shape, or form. We don't need the noise. We don't need it. We just don't need it for any reason. I can't see how in any way it would add value. Talk to all my neighbors, my friends, my community. Cannot see for any reason why Caledonia would want to take up hundreds of acres of farmland for this. I just don't. I just do not. 100% oppose it, hoping that we have a massive turnout for the next meeting so that we can vote this down.
Thank you.
Absolutely don't want it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Paula Pintar, 7348 Botting Road, Caledonia, Wisconsin. I want to thank my neighbor for how eloquently he spoke. And I have not heard anything in how this data center will benefit our community. I can see, and we've verbalized many things that as constituents, we are bringing to the board for consideration. And this is our neighborhood and our families. My son built a home here, and now he's going to be butt up against something like this. He never would have built there if he'd known this was happening. My daughter wants to buy a home in this village, and now she's reconsidering because of this data center. And a couple of weeks ago, we listened to the whole marketing plan from our recreation and executive. I forget her title, I apologize. But she spoke for 20 minutes on how Racine is a destination spot now and wants to build Caledonia as a horse community, hiking community, as a village. This data center goes in our agricultural district. This will not be a village. This will be a replication of Oak Creek, of all of those other cookie cutter communities that have given themselves over to what they consider positive development. This is not positive for our community. I've been a resident. I used to live in Oak Creek. I've been a resident in Caledonia for over 30 years. I love this town. I love the people in this community. And if we don't listen to our constituents, there's no pulling this back. And it will be decimation, and it will never stop. And we will not see an end to this. Thank you.
Anybody else? Moving on then to presentations, audit report. Jordan, are you here? There you are. How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you. Thank you, appreciate it. Well, good evening, and I see a number of familiar faces. As many of you have probably sat through this presentation each year. I will quick revisit. My name is Jordan Boehm. I am a principal with Clifton Larson Allen, or CLA. We like our acronyms in the accounting world. But I am here to go through what the audit results were for the year ended December 31st, 2024. So the remarks that I have here for this evening are really related to your fiscal year 24 and are not reflective of anything subsequent to that period, at least for inclusion in the audit.
Raise that
Oh,
up.
absolutely.
For us deaf guys.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. All right, so just quick agenda. I'm going to run quick through the audit scope and process. We'll talk about the audit results, including the opinions and the required communications that you have received in that governance packet. It's typically about a 4 or 5 page document that you'll get that summarize those audit results. We'll go through that here this evening, as well as some upcoming new accounting standards that will impact the village or have had impact on the village. Okay. Oh, jumped a little too far ahead there. Try to go back. Sounds good. Okay. Okay. So from an audit process and standpoint, when we perform the audit, we do not perform an audit of every transaction that the village will enter into. We're really focusing on a risk-based audit that focuses on quantitative and qualitative factors. So quantitative being any transaction of a certain size, if it's greater than that threshold, we're going to look at the underlying details and support to make sure that that transaction is adequately supported and accounted for in accordance with the appropriate standards and principles. And then on the qualitative aspect, we're going to think about the users of the financial statement. So we think about governance, we think about bondholders, we think about the community that may utilize the documents. And so as we go through that process, we will also ultimately understand the internal control structure that you have. So we're going to look at the checks and balances to see that the policies and procedures set forth for fiscal administration are followed, as well as test those controls to gain confidence in the information that's being included in your accounting software. Other areas that we will spend time is what we call significant estimates. So with the financial statements, not everything is $1 of cash in and $1 of cash out. It's meant to be representative of service periods. So what did you provide to somebody, and then be able to bill them for that service, whether or not the cash has been received. And same thing with your payments to vendors or employees. We're looking for when were the services provided to the village. From there, we spend our time on cash and investments. We will always spend time with cash and investments. We'll confirm balances. We'll look at the reconciliations to make sure that those are appropriately supported for any significant reconciling items between what is reflected in the bank and what is included in the general ledger. We'll spend time with receivables and the related revenues. So we'll look at property taxes and are those appropriately reflected as revenue in the financial statements. We'll look at your grant revenues from federal and state sources, and we'll also look at those public charges for services. So when you provide a benefit to a community member, whether it be, for example, water, sewer, or stormwater service and the utilities, we're going to look at the collection of that information and the ultimate billing process. We will look at general disbursements, so it's the payments to vendors, so accounts payable and the related disbursements there, as well as your payroll and fringe benefits. Those fringe benefits will include your participation in the Wisconsin retirement system and the information included there in your financials. We'll look at the other post-employment benefit liabilities that for those promises related to retiree health benefits. In addition, we will also look at compensated absences, which that is one area where I will highlight a new standard that went into effect for how that gets accounted for within those financials. And then lastly, but of course not least, is the capital infrastructure and how that is financed. So when we talk about financings, we're not just looking at bonds and notes that may be issued. It could be leases, it could be subscription-based commitments of funds that are also going to be in there as the world is becoming more digital. Those commitments of capital or funds out into future periods for digital services are becoming more significant to communities. Okay, so before I go into results, I do like to just take a pause and see if there's any questions on the audit process. And I would open it to the group. Okay. So on the audit opinion, we did issue an unmodified opinion, and what an unmodified opinion reflects is that the information included in the financial statements is deemed to be materially correct for a user of that financial statement to form or base judgments on. And that unmodified opinion is the highest level of assertion that we can provide as external auditors related to the accuracy of the information in that document. In addition, we also will provide a report on things that we see that may be recommendations as it relates to that financial statement audit process. In the past, when the village was subject to single audit requirements, you would have seen a separate report for government auditing standards as well as that internal control over compliance with those awards. Without those health dollars, you haven't hit the threshold for needing that single audit. in the past couple years. Now, you will likely be hitting that threshold for 2025 as you've spent down the remaining ARPA dollars. But for this period, what we're ultimately just presenting here as it relates to recommendations are fairly consistent with what you've seen in the past. We have the preparation of the financial statements. There are certain audit adjustments that we do propose to your management team to take the information from what's on the village's records to present it in accordance with the accounting principles. Those adjustments are not related to cash or cash transactions. They are more reflective of service activity related to, for example, one of them is the amortization of sewer capacity that you have borrowed with Mount Pleasant, or in the agreement with Mount Pleasant, for how that gets reflected in terms of how much expense to recognize each year. In addition, we always will call out the segregation of duties aspect. Each year I kind of highlight the fact that as governance, with the resources that you have available to you and the fact that Wayne as the finance director needs to have that ability to make and post entries, just be mindful of the fact that he has total control over that system and that you'll want to make sure that whatever information you're receiving, you're getting adequate communication and documentation related to any questions or concerns that may arise.
Wayne and I and Todd spoke about this January, maybe? We sat down and had a whole list of items. This was one of those. So I will follow up with you two gentlemen in the next couple of weeks to address this, because we have enough staff now that we should be able to address most of the segregation of duties issue, in my opinion. So, enough said.
Absolutely. And if there is any discussion you'd like to have as you go through that process, I'm happy to be available for that. All right. So the governance communication. So this is that summary of the overall audit process. So one of the things I will always note is if you're ever curious about why something is presented the way it is in the financial statements, note 1 to those financial statements is going to provide that summarized information for why are we reflecting the information the way that we are, or some certain information as it relates to accounting principles. So I did mention that there is a new accounting standard that went into effect that did have an impact on the financial statements for 2024. That standard related to compensated absences. And what that the change in the standards ultimately resulted in was the way by which the estimate for what the expected future liability of those vacation and sick leave hours that are accumulated by employees, what is that estimate for what the liability is going to be presented at in the financial statements? In the past, it was a little bit more of a gross number where it was take the hourly rate as of the end of the fiscal year, multiply it by the number of hours that are eligible to be paid out, and that would reflect your liability. In this case, the standards have changed to say what we want to do is ultimately consider the likelihood and probability of payout for an individual. So as individuals go throughout their careers, they hit certain milestones that would increase or would make them eligible for that benefit. Well, not every person will stay with the village for the entirety of their career or meet that requirement for that payout. So there is an estimation done to determine what is a reasonable estimate for what we expect individuals who are employees of the village to receive that benefit. So it's not necessarily the full benefit anymore.
So that'll always be a lower number than when you just multiply the hourly.
Over time, yeah, that's ultimately what will happen. And as we go through time, there'll be better data to refine that estimate. Because typically what you're doing is you're looking back on a period of time and you're gaining insights as to the accuracy of that estimate over time. But this is ultimately something that isn't going to impact that general fund budget that you're approving. It's more at the village as a whole level of the financials. Okay. There were no transactions that lacked authoritative guidance. So what we're really saying there is there any accounting or any transactions that you entered into as a village that there wouldn't be supporting standards to say, how would we present this in your financial statement? So for that piece, there was nothing where there had to be judgment in how does this get presented and disclosed. From no significant difficulties, there were no disagreements with management and no significant issues discussed with management in the course of performing the audit related to our ability to get the information and complete our testing. I mentioned estimates earlier. There are a couple of estimates that I would say are more significant or have a higher degree of uncertainty related to them, where there's a little bit more math to how do we get to the right number. One of those is the OPEB liability and the related information that's disclosed there. You have to use an actuary to get to that number. That actuary is running that math based on the information that is transmitted from the village management team to the actuary. So we do test the census information that is sent to the actuary to make sure that what we're testing, we're seeing accurate information getting relayed, because that's going to result in a higher likely of probability that that estimate is going to be more accurate. The other then is the estimate for the allowance on the EMS receivables. So another piece of information, EMS receivables, for many communities, this is a challenge in terms of collectability. Usually if you don't collect it within a pretty short period of time, whether it is through a third payer or self-pay, those tend to age out, and as a result, an allowance is booked against that receivable. It's not that the receivable is forgiven or written off. It's just the acknowledgement that we likely aren't to collect every dollar that we bill for related to those. So then in the other section here, the no's again are a good thing. I'll comment briefly on the one item that doesn't have a no. And really that piece is the material corrected misstatements. So this goes into and drives into the comment I had on the previous slide related to the preparation of the financial statements. There were those couple transactions, again, they didn't impact cash or investments, but really were accounting reflective type of transactions that we had identified some change to what the balance was in the original trial balance and provided that support that was accepted by management for inclusion in the financials. Again, example being the sewer capacity expense to be or amortized related to the Mount Pleasant agreement. Okay. So again, just recapping with the new GASB standard, it was compensated absences. There's a little bit of information on here just as it relates to the framework. I gave a little bit more in-depth explanation as I was going through that commentary, so this is reflective of that, and I won't revisit it for you here. I guess lastly, I would ask for the board's questions or feedback that I can answer.
Good. I assume there's a management letter and a typical packet. Wayne, do you have a copy of that? Believe it or not, I do read through it when I can't sleep. I'm sorry? Okay. Well, I'd like a hard copy because I'm no good at reading through hundreds of pages online. Plus, I like to.
For all the reports,
I'm an old timer. I like the old style, writing notes on it.
I was going to say, for all the reports that I get to read through, I still need paper.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any?
I have a question that you probably can't answer, but I'll ask it anyway. When you look at our entire payroll expense, that is payroll and the vacations and all of the benefits, where are we on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to other communities of about our size?
In terms of total payroll or average compensation, it's a good question. And what I would say is we can get to the data at a high level in total as it relates to if there's components of compensation related to market, as in are we paying our employees market, are we below market, or are we above market? That would fall outside of our specialty and probably would fall in the scope of a compensation study or within the HR team. But we could look at, and I could look at the data with Wayne as it relates to total compensation, number of employees, and how does that look in comparison to other similar communities to the village. So we'd have to pull comparables in that case to give you an answer.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. very much.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thanks.
6B, presentation of the 2026 administrator's budget.
Yes, so we will get you this. We're in the middle of doing our file server transfer from our 2024 to our new file server. So once that migration is completed, we will get you the budget document.
Okay.
Do we know about when that's happening?
When I consulted the Magic 8 Ball earlier,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful it said maybe by the end of the week. So
Ooh.
that next week we could get it, the budget to you.
So does that mean that you're operating without internet in the meantime?
No, we have the internet, we have our accounting software is running. What we don't have access to is our shared data drives. We have an older version of them online right now that people can go grab a letter or a permit and then can change it to meet the current needs. But we don't have the history and some of that stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Do you need a motion to lay this over?
I don't think so. I think we just put it on the agenda again when you're ready, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, ordinances and resolutions, 7A, resolution 2025-64, approving a revision to the Village Caledonia wage scale. This went through the committee of the whole on 8/12 with a 7-0 vote.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-064.
Second.
Thank you. Phew, sorry for all that feedback on the mic. Any discussion on that motion?
Fran did.
I seconded it, yeah. No, we went through it at the committee. of
Yeah,
the
we
whole.
did go through it. You caught up? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna turn mic off. Okay, and opposed? Resolution 2025-65, authorizing the award of contract for demolition of the old police station on 6900 Nicholson Road. Can I have a motion on that?
Move to approve resolution 2025-065 and good riddance to it.
I'll second
That
it.
moldy old thing.
So do we need discussion on that item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
When's it gonna start?
Very shortly after this approval.
Okay. That's like tomorrow, you mean?
Hold on.
Do we all get to come help knock it down?
Anybody opposed?
Good Lord.
Is it
Anybody
my
opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's approved. Thanks, get busy. Okay, new business, AP checks, Mr. Wishaw, please.
Mr. President, I move to approve AP checks totaling to $740,869.05.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Wishaw?
Mr. President, I move to approve credit card charges amount to $46,144.16.
Have a second, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Wishaw. We will adjourn the village board meeting and in a minute start the committee.